Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. This is Heather Mehdi, and I have the great privilege and honor and feel deeply humbled to have this conversation with Shaykh Fadhlallah Haeri, a Sufi mystic and spiritual master. Shaykh Fadhlallah Haeri is an enlightened spiritual master whose life and work serves as a reminder that spirituality is a science and an art vitally relevant to our times. He grew up in an environment where religious scholars and Sufis were part of his formative experiences. His love and understanding of the universality of the Quranic message has imbued him with respect for other religions, other spiritual paths, and the ability to discern the common elements in our collective search towards awakening. Sheikh Fadlallah's books on the Quran are unique templates on how to live our life with the message of the Quran and transcend these different belief systems. He's written close to 70 books. Some of them are the keys to the Quran, the eternal light of the Quran, a path to eternal life, witnessing perfection, spectrum of reality, transformative worship in Islam, cosmology of the self, universal Quran, selected verses of all times. I have the great pleasure and honor of welcoming Sheikh Fadlallah Haeri. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sheikh Sahab.
Alaikum salam.
Sheikhna, the your books talk about the inner and the outer. It talks about the duality of the universe, and in today's world, we're faced with this tremendous confusion which prevails about how evil seems to be triumphing over good. What we see in Gaza, what we see across the world, what we're seeing, witnessing in Pakistan, where I come from. How does the message of the Quran help individuals navigate this big elephant in the room, which is seems that evil is overpowering everything around us?
First of all, I want to remind myself and you and everyone else that
Bismillah.
what we call the human being is a combination of a mysterious light, which we call life, which is the life giver, which we call ruh,
Allah.
combined with something that began a few billions of years ago, evolving, where life had touched something that is more intermediate between heavens and earth, which is the evolving animal. So you, I, he, she, everyone is a mixture of an ever-changing, ever-evolving, rising and intelligent as an animal due to this mysterious divine gift of life or ruh. Secondly, I wanted to emphasize that the time we are living in is better than any other time.
Allah.
It's better than 50 years ago, better than 100 years ago, but much better than 1,000 years ago, much better than 100,000 years ago. As for 200,000-300,000 years ago, we weren't quite the same human beings as we are now anyway. So there is a constant evolution and rise towards the ruh. So this is the good news. It's Allah's design, Allah's plan, Allah's plot. And Allah says in the Quran, and my plan, my plot will prevail. Inna Allah balighun amra. And that Allah's plan, Allah's plot, Allah's desire is to be at one with the one.
Allah.
Therefore, this conditioned consciousness we are in is based on duality. Birth, death, good, bad, up, down, correct, incorrect, and. We're all the time, each one of us tries our best to see the unity in that duality, to see the light of the higher in the good and the bad of everything we experience. No one is exempt. But the time we are living in now in terms of justice, in terms of allowing human being to do their best, to excel, is better than years ago. And years ago was better than many, many years before. It's Allah's plot. We have to read it and apply it. As for seeing all the injustices around us, this is because of the ease of communication, ease of travel. You know, 200-300 years ago, you wouldn't have known what's going on just a few hundred kilometers away. No, so this is all part of Tawheed, closer and closer and closer. We have challenges nowadays that are different to the challenges of a few years ago. Challenges remain. The Quran describes that for us. لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا, so that we are tested and tried to see how are we responding to this new situation, so that we excel and excel and excel and excel. What is excellence? What is doing the best? Doing your best meaning you have to be present. Read it, اقرأ, evaluate it, so you don't regret, so you don't end up with all kinds of, if only, if only that, if I hope, I wish, no regrets. And also, you are present. You don't carry all the burdens of mistakes, errors, and guilt on you. That can only happen if you follow the ultimate description of the prophetic light. Inna arsalnaka shahidan, to witness. If you are full of judgment, you can't be a good witnesser. You're already colored, your vision, your lens is already got its own, overrider. To witness, you have to simply be present. No past, no present. Obviously, no one of us can survive without judgment. But all right, judge it, but then put it down. Be neutral, be on wudu. Now you are facing your Lord. Then you begin to see how everyone is prejudiced, including the speaker. And everyone wants to have a situation that their mind, their biography, considered to be better than others. On and on and on and on. Situation that you and I may consider to be very good now will be very different in an hour, or in a month, or in a year. Striving for the best will continue. What is the best and how do you be in it will change all the time. So there is an ever-changing field of energy, and you and I and he and she are led by what we consider to be the most durable, the most permanent, the best that will not bring with it sorrow, suffering, and regrets. That is the human situation. We are here being prepared for the next phase of consciousness after death, after losing that link with the intermediate world of space and time that we are alive in now. That will vanish. So when the intermediate or conditioned consciousness leaves me, leaves the ruh, then I have no more a body or a mind or a biography or fears or anxieties. So considered to be dead, which means the soul or the spirit is now liberated from the incumbencies of dualities. That is why death as such for the ruh is celebration. For the nafs, which is only a shadow of the ruh, can be a catastrophe. If my nafs is dependent on others admiring me and all of that, then it's a catastrophe. One other issue I wanted to comment. A few thousand years ago, we were all personality oriented. Who is the person? Who is the king? Who is the prophet? Who is the leader? Who is the chief of the tribe. Who? With time and the rise of intelligence, most human beings now will want to move from who to what. What is it? What is the message? I respect, I consider, I will look at the messenger, but give me the message. Otherwise, you will eulogize about the messenger, and and we end up quarreling all the time about this messenger is better than the other one was even higher, and on and on and on, and the usual competition between all the different denominations and religions. So we want to know what is the message so that I don't suffer, so that I don't remain confused. Well, the message of the Quran is clear that human being carries a spark of the divine as a ruh. How is that? We don't know. Why is that? We don't know. How does that ruh come into this womb and comes out as a human being, aspiring, desiring, hoping? We don't know how. It's all programmed. It is epigenetic and moves on and on and on. Every one of us is the same. We want to be assured that if you are neutral, if you are clear in your mind and heart, you will see clearly in front of you what to do, or more important, what not to do. This is the whole story. This is our deen. It has to be lived. Otherwise, it ends up being studies of this and studies of that, and ends up more as hair splitting or more doctrinal in the book. It's not going to help the individuals. It's not going to help people living together, sharing, caring. It is based on courtesy, is based on respect, is based on referencing to the ultimate. What is the ultimate? The higher you. What is that? The spirit in you, the soul in you, the divine light in you. Without that referencing, we'll end up going back and forth in time, regrets for the mistakes we've done, which are always due to not taking in consideration all the references necessary. References also in time. I may like it now. What about in 10 years' time? Or in 50 years' time? Or after my death? So putting things in perspective is looking at space and time and the moment, and then relating it to its origin, which is eternal, timeless, boundless. Then fine. That means I have acted in the ever changing moment by courtesy of referencing to the eternal presence of that which is timeless. That's the whole story. It has to be done. For that, you need people who are doing it or having done it, so that the true spiritual education is by referencing to the others, by relating to the others, by being shy, by being ashamed instantly. It's not in the books. It has to be one to one. It has to be alive, so that I treasure the most valuable thing ever, which is life itself. So that's the whole story.
MashaAllah, subhanallah. Sheikhna, the I'm speechless. Really, I'm
Good.
just speechless.
I'm glad. But maintain that.
May Allahu Akbar. Sheikh, Sheikhna, um, it appears that in this world of duality and conditioned consciousness, as you call it, which it is, the referencing to the higher self in us has been dominated by the lower self in us, called the nafs, as we see it today. what is your message for people to move from referencing to the nafs and moving towards referencing to the soul or the spirit?
Any excuse that enables one to step aside. For the mother, she is very fortunate and incumbent also with the child, with the baby, with the husband, with whatever. But she has an advantage of being able to care for the life of the baby or the others around, respond and serve. Men have greater difficulty because they consider themselves, in a way, having, because of historical reasons, a few thousand years ago, being more, if you like, agile or able to move or stronger. So they maintain a certain measure of, if you like, illicit superiority. Now we are entering into a zone where truly, with human right, with education, with cultures, we are regarding any human being, irrespective of gender, as being truly worthy of respect and acceptance as an entity trying to reach at all times the highest reality within itself. So step aside. And suffering makes us do that. And pain, anguish, illness, sickness, all of these are helpful to realize that our distractions can cause destruction. Whilst you are doing it, watch out. Whilst you are engaged in the battle, be ready to stop it and apologize. Whilst you are embarking on something, visualize that everything is cancelled, or you're unable, you're in a coma, you're unable to move. Stop. So more and more nowadays you find techniques, whether they are based on some ancient practices of yoga and this and or anything else, to stop, be in the moment, no thought, no awareness of any discernible entity or thing, just presence, pure consciousness. The more you calibrate with that state, the less likely you are to make irreversible mistakes. It's personal. Every one of us have to climb that ladder of higher consciousness through intelligence, through diligence, through awareness. You may say it's a very simplistic, it is simpler than simplicity itself, but everybody has to do it. It's not a magic wand that suddenly an emerging guru or a master or whatever can pass it on. Nobody can give it to anybody. The Quran says you can never guide those whom you love mostly. You can be attentive, you can be considerate, you can be kind, but you can't guide them to awaken to the higher soul, to the ruh in them. You can tell them that you are still talking from yourself. You're still acting on behalf of your ego self. Yes. And if it is said with kindness and with hope for the individual to realize that they have this apparent choice, following their own whims and the illusion that they are important or big or leader, or that they are in actual fact harboring a higher spirit which is beyond them, that they are at best accommodating the soul or spirit as long as they're alive. A very good metaphor for that is like a flame. We are in fields of flames, but they don't show. It's only when the temperature is right, it's not too much wind, there is enough for the flame to be nourished with and fed, then the flame appears. So there are numerous conditions for the flame to appear. The same thing is for the ruh, for it to take root. There are numerous conditions for the ruh. If you're very sick, full of pain, full of anxiety, full of this, the ruh will not stay. That's why you say, oh, he became very ill and he died. It means the accommodation wasn't suitable enough for that light of lights, which is soul or spirit. If you look at it from this point of view, then you will realize that human beings are custodians of a big treasure in a short, temporary, intermediate space, time called the world on earth, our life on earth. It will pass. We are here being prepared for life itself without the isolation or the restrictions of space and time as a person, as a body, or as a mind, or as a soul. That's all the whole story. In the meantime, we have to participate without damaging, if you like, that short journey, without us obstructing the movement from what appears to be seen, physical, real, chemical, to that which is spiritual and eternal. That's the whole story. We're allowed to interact and participate. If we do well, then most paths promise us paradise, the garden, perfection. If not, then you have to go through another process of purification, which we call hell and paradise or garden in between, so as the soul emerges back to its origin of boundlessness, but this time with the experience of duality, the up and the down, the good and the bad, and the just and the unjust, and so on and so on. This is the purpose. If there are enough people accepting that this is the situation we are in, then you have less human tragedies. At the moment, the whole world is suffering from incredible varieties of injustices. So that we say, look here, we are wrong. We're not doing it the right way. So that there will be less and less and less and less of all of the misery we are inflicting. But the primary condition for that doesn't seem to be there handy. The condition for that is honesty. To be honest, you want more. So that's why you're making an excuse in the name of others, in the name of this, in the name of religion. You get more and more. Alhaakumut takathur, or Allahu Akbar. Allah is greatest ever, ever, ever. And that's the condition of your ruh. And the nafs, which is the shadow of the ruh, wants the same. That's where all the trouble begins. We have to be watchful, 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 and be with people who are on the same path. Then you are reminded, and you flow in life with ease. And regularly you are reminded that Allah's rahmah is taking you higher and higher along the ladder of intelligence and awareness until you touch more and more pure awareness. And that is life.
Bismillah. So, Sheikh, now, thank you very much for this most profound insight about how people can reference themselves to the higher consciousness. Uh, in your book, Selected Verses for All Times, the Universal Quran, in you quote one particular select one verse, and I just want to read this out and seek your insight about its reference to modern day affliction and ease. And this is Surah Al Araf, I think, ayat 94, 96. And the ayat says, and so never did we send a prophet to a city, but we seized its inhabitants with hardship and injury. Perhaps they might repent in humility. Then we substituted good for evil until they grew prosperous and said, our ancestors too were touched by both hardship and ease, but suddenly we seized them unawares. Had the people of the cities believed and grown pious, we would have opened to them the blessings of heaven and earth. But they lied, so we seized them in recompense for what they earned. do you do you think this is happening today in the world
But
in
all the
Gaza?
time. It's all the time. What do you mean, Gaza? What about your own home? What about
Yes,
my place? It's the
yes,
same for all of us.
mm,
It's not somewhere else.
yes.
We're all the time are in denial
Allah.
because of habits. And we say, oh, our father did that. Our people did that. Our community did that. And so on. The Quran reminds us with warning that do not just blame the people before. The values, the essential inner value, we are all the same. We want goodness that lasts. We want honesty. We want generosity. We want kindness. We want all the attributes of the Ruh or the virtues of the soul. Also, we want to avoid all the vices of the darkness of the other side of the soul, which is the lower nafs and ego. So, whatever the Quran says about other people, previous people, applies at all times. Human being's mind is what links, enables the so called human being, which is an accommodator of the Ruh, to interact with the up and the down of day to day life. It's only for that, to accommodate it, to make it easy. Otherwise, the mind is an obstacle. It is the Ruh we need to follow. It's the light of the soul we want to be illumined by. As for the mind, it changes. Yesterday I was tired and hungry and so on. Today I am not. Maybe in 2, 3 hours I'll be overdoing it or whatever. It's never the same. كل يوم هو في شان. You know, every instant, every day, every moment, we're in a different state. It's ever changing. We know it doesn't change because of the light of the Ruh is constant, doesn't change. So I know I follow so many stupid things. May Allah forgive me. That's fine. Allah is all forgiving. Allah is not in time. Allah is the designer, inventor, creator of space and time. We are within space and time being cooked, being prepared.
Allah.
And all our difficulties are because we acted inappropriately in that instant. It may have been appropriate in an abstract sense. You stood up against injustice. But who has appointed you as being the spokesman for justice at all times? It's not appropriate. People don't want it. They want a hero. They want an immediate king. They want money. They want power. They want izzat. They want all. So who are you to change that? It takes time, collective suffering, and slowly by slowly they realize, no, take what is necessary for you accountably, correctly, and so you move without regrets. You move without guilt. You move without suffering. You want to be neutral in the middle. You've done what you can. You respond, but you occasionally comes that people don't want it. The majority of people around you are carried away. They want more money, more houses, more wealth, more power, more dominance, bigger army, bigger. So it's not your business. It's the nafs following, in a sense, a path which ultimately leads to destruction.
Destruction.
ألهاكم التكاثر.
Allah.
We are more, more, more.
Oh.
You hardly find anybody says, no, thank you, I have enough. Ask anybody that I can give you all the money you want, and you have 2 minutes to give me the number. I assure you there's can I have 1 more minute because I may add few more zeros. Because your ruh is in a state of beyond wealth. It has no poverty. It has no fear or anxiety for survival. The nafs has. Refer to your ruh and you say, no, thank you very much. Who said more giving will be good for you? You will attract so much attention, so many other wasps and creatures will come and attack you. Who said it's good for you? You may have more money, more power, yeah, but who said it's good for you? Who is the you? You are a shadow of an eternal light,
There is
which
no
is your
you.
ruh. The less there is that shadow, the more the ruh is there. And the
Allah.
ruh is here for a short period to journey in duality,
mm,
so that when it returns, leaving the body, ayahs, several ayahs, beautiful one, like يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة
mm.
ارجع إلى ربك راضية مرضية. O self, now that you have seen it all, the ups and the downs, and ارجعي إلى ربك, return now to your Lord, having seen alternative consciousness.
Allahu Akbar.
فادخلي في عبادي. Now enter my عبودية. Now you
Subhan
can start worshipping.
Allah.
As a result of that worship, for its own sake, فادخلي جنتي. Now you are in the garden.
Wow.
خلاص. This is
Fellas.
the whole purpose.
Mm,
Simple program. But we
Allah.
get distracted. No, they were wrong. I had to put. Who has appointed you as the global policeman or reformer? Or
Mm,
you do what you can, always available, but within limitations. Nothing ever exists in this realm of consciousness unless it is limited by space and time.
mm, mm,
That's all. The rest you have to do, and until such time you move from the desire of multitask doership to look, there's all the space all the time. I can do anything and I don't choose anything unless my ruh tells me.
mm.
That's it. So
Wow.
you are in this world, not of this world. You're available. You're healthy. You're well. You're ready to leave your body and mind any minute. And
Mm,
you're also don't mind staying a few more days or a few more years. Doesn't matter.
mm, mm.
Present, present, present moment is eternal.
Present moment is
This
eternal.
takes practice. That's all.
Mm. Sheikh, thank you so much for this wonderful, wonderful, enlightening discourse. And we're really just talking about the individual transformative journey in this conditioned consciousness towards the ultimate reality. Thank you so much. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of us with these wonderful insights so we can reference ourselves to the higher soul. Thank you so much, Sheikh. I seek leave from you.
I
Assalamu
will be
alaikum wa
convinced that you have got it. You're doing it if we don't meet anymore. And then I know it's done.
rahmatullah. So, ladies and gentlemen, you heard Sheikh Fadhlallah Haeri. I've had perhaps maybe a dozen or maybe 2 dozen conversations with Sheikh Fadhlallah over the last decade or so in this format of interviewing him. And I must have met him scores of time over my 30, 40 years of association with Sheikh Fadhlallah Haeri. Uh, I do not recall in my past having come out of a conversation with Sheikh Fadlala as I did today, so clear in my mind and heart. In fact, I felt as if someone had put a Vicks inhaler up my nose and just cleared everything, because what we're seeing nowadays in Gaza and what we're seeing nowadays in my own country, Pakistan, is a reminder that people are suffering, and it's a reminder to us that we really need to reference our higher conscious self, our ruh, our spirit, if we are to transcend this terrible hold of the nafs over us as individuals and over us as collective entities. And that's why the verse that I quoted and Sheikh Fadlallah dwelt on it talked about affliction. So I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I hope we have Sheikh Fadlallah back again in the future to share his brilliant insights about the Quran and how the Quran can help us navigate through life. Thank you very much. And just before I go, I want to share something with you as a gift. And this is the reference to Sheikh Fadlala's website and to his books. And for those who are interested in knowing more about Sheikh Fadlala's works and the tremendous insights that he's given us, in the description you will find a link to his website and to his books. So once again, thank you very much, and Khuda Hafiz, and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.